Oh, I seen somebody in the comments say, hey, aren't you too old to be wearing grills, this and that? I've never seen so many men so worried about what's in another man's mouth. You sound like y'all at a Diddy party, man. But look, man, I decided to put everything on now since you want to talk junk. You know what I'm saying? Look, how many of y'all can relate to that? Just get out here, do your own thing. Don't worry about what nobody's saying about you. Continue to vibe in your energy, and you know what I'm saying, just have a good time. Vibe out being you, man. That's what life is about. But look, hopefully y'all feel that same way. Smash that like button. Let's get this video to like 15,000 likes. It's always gonna be people out here that's uncomfortable because they're uncomfortable with being themselves. And look, man, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 1 million. But let's get into this video without further ado. And I'm not trying to convince you of anything. Make sure you're going out here doing your own damn research.
Ever wonder why the powers that be always broadcast what they're gonna do before they do it? It's not to avoid karma. That's not how karma works. The reason is because the powers that be are Archons. Archons were spoken about in the ancient Gnostic texts. Archons are thought forms that cannot manifest on their own because they have no love or connection to the cosmic womb, and therefore cannot utilize the law of attraction. So they use us humans to manifest by putting ideas in our faces. Once we see the idea and experience an emotion about the idea, we manifest it for them. So they don't tell us what they're gonna do before they do it. They tell us what they want to happen, and we make it happen by experiencing negative emotions about it happening.
Reptile demons dominate the demonic world, and they are everywhere. All demons are pure energy, negative energy. And so energy is always morphing, moving, flowing. And so the reptile demon that was walking down the sidewalk in this video was attracting negative energy and leaving negative energy behind, because it is negative energy to begin with. Earth is a low vibrational planet. This is why demons are able to roam around Earth with no problem. That's why it appeared like it was leaving little faces behind as it was walking. And because Earth is a low vibrational planet, this is why human souls cannot reside here on Earth without a body, because the human soul is high vibrational. Unless the human soul has been turned to a demon, then it can reside on Earth in the form of a demon. So those mediums and psychics who claim that they're talking to a dead loved one, they're not. It is a demon.
Y'all think Earth is really that low vibrational? Hey, look, I feel like sometimes they be playing with my top when they be saying that Earth is just so low vibrational and shit. And then I don't think it's that low if the demons can't really phase in and phase out like they want to. We got these fools at CERN trying to punch portals for them. But y'all let me know in the comments down below. We're going to keep going. Stop playing with us like that, though. You know what I'm saying? I'm representing like some shit that we don't know where we have. We don't know if it's flat or circle or round. I said circle, whatever. We're going to keep going, though. That's crazy.
You don't know who the cameraman is. You don't know why you're being able to see these things. Nor do I. You're seeing me. I can't even see you. I may be dead by the time you watch this. Very possibly are. You don't know who's the man who's making things he wants you to see. Destroy your television sets. Now. You must listen to no orders. That's all I can tell you at this point, you know.
Son casi las 5 de la mañana, salí a tirar la basura y se escucha...
Why the closer he getting, the harder he breathes? That shit just pissed me off.
¿Qué querés, hijo de puta? ¿Qué mierda es eso? ¿Qué es eso? ¿Qué es eso? ¿Qué es eso, la concha?
How many of y'all getting closer to that? I call cap.
What if I told you certain TV shows are there to program us to accept our future, not warn us, not predict it, but prepare us to normalize it? People love to say shows like Mirror are dystopian warnings, like, whoa, that would be awful if it ever happened. But here's the thing. Your brain doesn't treat it as a warning. It treats it as a dress rehearsal. You know, you see the tech, you see the society around it, and even if it creeps you out, a part of your subconscious gets used to it. Familiarity. And that familiarity becomes acceptance. They've been doing this for decades. Just before the moon landing, they pumped out the first big sci-fi films all about space travel, rockets, astronauts, even landing on the moon. Then, suddenly, we're watching it happen on live TV, and it feels normal. Not shocking, because we already saw it. Not in real life, but on screen. And our minds made peace with it there first. The same thing's happening now. You watch some guy in a show rewinding his memories with a chip behind his ear, and you think, okay, that's futuristic. But then Apple or Neuralink rolls out something similar, and suddenly it's not sci-fi. It's just the next update. You're not being warned, you're being prepped. So the next time you're watching something that feels a little too possible, just ask yourself, are they entertaining you or are they rehearsing you? I'm gonna go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes.
I've been wanting to try this place for so long. It's
that's a great
so
spot.
Good.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What is that you do?
Oh, I'm an accountant.
No, I mean like the weird voice thing.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm possessed.
Sorry.
Is that a problem? I swear to God, I'm like super normal besides that.
That's fine. Yo, what?
Sorry. What did you?
That gotta be a skit, bro. Ain't no goddamn way I would have got walked out so damn fast. I ain't got time for that, y'all. Hell nah.
This video is absolute proof that NASA has been lying to us about what stars really are, guys. Now, what you're looking at right now is a star in a jar. Science has recreated a star using sound, frequency, and water in a jar, which is really funny because all of our ancestors told us that the stars, this is what the stars really look like under a Nikon P900, the most powerful camera there is. They always told us that the stars are frequencies of light within the waters above God's dome or firmament. Have a listen to this, Rick.
This star in a jar is made when a sound wave is passed through a small bubble inside a flask of liquid. And this sound wave makes the bubble do something remarkable. First it expands, then it collapses. And this collapse happens so violently that vapor molecules trapped inside the bubble slam together and heat up so much that the bubble gives off an incredible burst of heat and light, several thousand times a second, giving the appearance of a star.
Once again, guys, here's exactly what stars actually look like versus what NASA tells us they look like. Here you're gonna see Buddy zoom in on an actual star. You're gonna see what stars actually look like to our own naked eye, not what NASA tells you. It's all CGI bullshit. Cymatic patterns, which are frequencies of sound pitched into water. This is what our ancestors told us the stars were. Frequencies of light within the waters above God's dome or firmament. Mentioned many times in the Bible, the Quran, all religious texts. All of our ancestors depicted this. This is what the stars really look like, guys. It is frequencies of light within the waters above. Now, check this out. Here's how the Egyptians depicted our Earth. You know the people that built the pyramids that, we can't replicate, probably a little bit more wise than we were, huh? Well, they always told us that the stars were within the firmament above. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. Genesis 1:7. Well, there's waters above us. Man, that would give us a perfect explanation of why the sky is blue. Guys, it wasn't just the Egyptians that told us this. It was all of our ancestors, all of them. Here's what the planets really look like, and here's what NASA tells you they look like. Mars, real Mars.
This is how Japan generates electricity using people's footsteps. Tokyo, one of the busiest cities in the world, has installed these special black tiles on pedestrian walkways. Every time someone steps on them, the tiles capture the kinetic energy from footsteps and convert it into electricity, powering the city's future with every step. At the core of this technology is piezoelectric technology, which converts mechanical pressure into electrical power. A single step can light up 10 bulbs for 20 seconds. This technology is now spreading worldwide, with several European countries implementing it in high-traffic areas, such as football stadiums and amusement parks. Every bit of kinetic energy is maximized and transformed into green energy, making each step part of a sustainable future. Who would have thought that every step we take is quietly changing the world, turning walking into a glowing experience? How cool is that?
John Searl created a generator design that became a superconductor, producing extreme cold and incredibly high voltage that caused it to lift off the ground. But could he control this flying disc generator?
One thing I didn't know was that gravity can be inversed. No scientists ever had come up with that idea. But clearly the magnetic field was completely different to the magnetic fields we knew of.
The heavy rollers spinning as they rotate around the plates acted like a flywheel and caused a gyroscopic effect. The extremely high voltage created a dense field surrounding the generator, a device built with individually magnetized components. Incorporating these principles displayed by the device, he christened it Gyro Flywheel High Energy Density Mechanical Magnetic Device, but it would soon be known as the Levity disc.
You've got to put a load, resistance load, on the generator to speed it up. And once it starts, you get to about, on average, about 1 million volts, it begins to really build up a charge. Then this superconductivity switches in and the Earth pushes it up. But it's also affecting the atmosphere above it. It is making it pull to the rim and rotate with a field. So you've got like a hurricane effort. It's sucking it up. There's a magnetic field, there's a gap, a vacuum between that and the rim, and it's the photons, which is discharged, trapped by the magnetic field, which gives it the glow.
Basically, the Searl effect was meant to turn the ether, which is all around us, which contains energy, and tap into this energy, which is euphemistically now being known as zero-point energy. And various other people who followed Searl's footsteps have also potted around, and they've tapped into it by mistake.
I can understand why people would have difficulty in understanding it, because it does take a great deal of effort to make sense of it technically.
Fernando Morris, an electrical engineer and computer specialist, is responsible for the most credible attempt to rebuild the Searl effect generator.
We have something here that needs to be investigated, and really that's my role. I am a technical investigator of ESCG.
In his home laboratory workshop near San Diego, California, Morris is following the footsteps of John Searl. Personally guided by Searl himself, he is rebuilding the generator precisely as Searl did long ago. Morris developed the unit that reveals a magnetic sine wave in the Searl generator.
That's how I started off, is to try to build a magnetizer for it. And if I could develop this sine wave, which I'd never heard of before, I think we're onto something and we can build upon that. Now that is proven, repeatable, and I've got the unit to do that. It's a process of magnetizing the rollers and the plate, and when you develop sine waves on it, what you in effect you're developing a motor, and that's essential if it's going to be a viable device.
That is exactly what I've been saying since 1946. There is a waveform in the magnetic domain on that metal, and the scientists say.
After years of studying Searl's books, trying to decipher their meaning, and endless question and answer sessions with the man himself, what does he know that assures him Searl is right?
I'm going to release a piece of information here that I haven't shared before, and that is the law of squares. That's one of those question marks right now, is how does that come about? It took me a while to understand it, but what it is, it represents time, space, and energy. And what it says, it's in a random state. That's not useful energy, but what John has done is he has transposed that matrix so that the output is uniform. And within nature, uniformity means resonance. So if you can resonate that with random energy, you got yourself an electric current, because electrons are the only things that are free to move on metal. So what we got here is a converter of random energy into electrical current. And that's the brilliance behind the machine here, is not only was John able to decipher his matrix, but he was able to make it into a workable device. And that's the SEG.
John Searl, the Searl effect generator, SED, and the use of magic squares in vortex physics and free energy. John Searl claimed to have developed the Searl effect generator, a device that produces free energy and anti-gravity effects by harnessing vortex physics. He specifically referenced the Saturn square, a magic square, as part of the mathematics behind its design. This aligns perfectly with everything we've been discussing: vortex-based physics, ancient sacred geometry, implosion technology, and the suppression of free energy. Let's break it down. So 1, what is the Searl effect generator? The SEG is a self-sustaining energy device that allegedly taps into the zero-point field, the ether. It consists of rotating magnetic rollers arranged in layers, creating a dynamic vortex. As the rollers spin, they generate an electrostatic field, pulling in ambient energy. The system allegedly achieves levitation as the electromagnetic fields interact in a toroidal motion. How does it relate to vortex-based physics? Implosion energy. Unlike combustion, which destroys energy, the SEG creates self-sustaining power through internal energy circulation. Electrostatic charge differentials. This is the same principle bees and beetles use to levitate via electrostatic forces. Magnetic vortex motion. The SEG creates a field that cancels out gravity, aligning with Schauberger's implosion theories and Keely's vibrational physics. The SEG is based on fundamental etheric principles, creating a toroidal energy field that generates limitless energy while defying traditional physics. KISS 2, the role of magic squares in the SEG's design. Magic squares in sacred geometry as a blueprint for energy harnessing. Magic squares, such as the Saturn square, are numerical grids where sums align in a way that creates harmonic resonance. These mathematical patterns are found in nature, sacred geometry, planetary movements, and even ancient architecture. Searl used the Saturn square as a foundation for the SEG's layout, implying that planetary and geometric harmonics play a direct role in energy systems. Why would a magic square work in a free energy device? Resonance and harmonics. Nature follows harmonic ratios by Fibonacci vortex mathematics. A properly structured system aligns with the ether's natural flow. Frequency tuning. Magic squares create geometrically aligned numerical patterns that could act as a tuning mechanism for the zero-point field. The Saturn connection. Saturn is often depicted as a controller of cycles, structure, and time. If harnessed correctly, its energetic signature may relate to generating coherent energy fields. Ancient knowledge encoded energy harmonics into numerical systems. Searl's CG may have rediscovered these lost principles. 6.3. Why the SE and other free energy devices have been suppressed. Free energy equals independence. If a device like the SED works, it would render fossil fuels, centralized electricity grids, and controlled energy industries obsolete. Governments and corporations profit from controlled scarcity. Free energy disrupts their financial and geopolitical dominance. The science of ether and implosion has been replaced by the science of scarcity. Mainstream physics suppresses ether theory because it contradicts gravity-based cosmology. Explosion-based technology, fossil fuels, nuclear power, ensures dependency rather than self-sufficiency. Vortex-based physics is ridiculed, despite its existence in nature, weather systems, planetary movements, biological structures. Every suppressed inventor, Tesla, Schauberger, Keely, Reich, and now Searl, had one thing in common. They tapped into the ether, which threatens the existing control system. The connection to everything we've learned. Vortex-based energy aligns with natural harmonic structures, implosion instead of explosion. Sacred geometry, magic squares, planetary harmonics, is a key to unlocking unlimited energy systems. Electrostatic and magnetic levitation is real, seen in insects, the Hutchison effect, and the SEG. The suppression of free energy is not...
This is the World Submarine Cables Map. I want you to think of South America as 1, Africa as 2, and Australia as 3. Notice how there is no cables from here to here or here to here. You might ask, why is that important? Here's why. The reason you will never see these cables connected is because look how far the distance is from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3. and the vast distance from 1 to 3. But Ryan, what about these cables here? Oh yeah, you mean the short distance right here? But you might ask yourself, Ryan, why is that important? Over 99% of the world's internet traffic, including international phone calls and data transfers, rely on cables. Not satellites, cables. Y'all, pull up any map of sea cables and you will see that none of these touch. Because we live on a flat, geocentric plane, just like the Word of God says. In Revelations 29, and they, talking about the angels, went up on the breadth of the earth. What is that? That is Strong's G4114. Breadth meaning plateaus, has a root word, breadth, suggesting great extent. Let's look up this root word plateaus, G4116.
They're all the military bases the United States has around the world. You know, no other country has this. Just the United States has this. Nobody else does this. China, Russia, they don't have bases all over the world. Who does? We do. Because that's how capitalism ends up. You have to use a gun to keep it going. And you have to become fascist. And this is why our country is going down the shitter. And we're ending like all great empires end. We're overextending militarily while we won't take care of our own people at home. That's where your money's going, because your government is 100% corrupt. Not regular corrupt. It's 100% corrupt. This is called corruption. Do you see this? Do you know what this is called? This is called $1 trillion a year in corruption, because that's all this is. These people are there, these military bases are there to make sure American corporations can extract natural resources from these places. Look at all the bases we have outside of China. Look at this. Here comes South America, Central America. Look at that. Can you imagine if China had these many bases in South and Central America or anywhere?
Yeah, right.
Can you imagine if China had all these bases in the Middle East? Imagine.
These are scenes from a much different Egypt than we have been shown in our history books, showing a very buried city under the sand, pyramids built right on top of ancient tree stumps, and a sphinx that looks much different than the face we see today. And when I say built on top of ancient tree stumps, just look at this map from Cairo. Let's take a little closer look onto the top right of it. All those pyramids right on top of flat top mountains, or as we know them here, ancient trees. Everything has been reshaped in this world we know, mostly in part to hide our true past, our true origins, the true purpose of these structures like the pyramids. I think they were once part of an advanced civilization's free energy network, and they definitely go a lot deeper than we see. We have just started unburying from the last reset. What do you think the true purpose of the pyramids were? Let me know in the comments. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
Into this book called Encounters. Alright. It's written by Edith Fiore. She's a PhD. Alright. And this book was written in the 1970s. I'm going to go right into it. I'm going to go to page 279. And what it is this doctor actually had a patient that came in who was abducted. A friendly abduction, okay? She was a Hispanic woman. And I guess she puts her under hypnosis. And says here, Dr. Fiore, tell me everything that you're aware of. Diane, the patient. I feel afraid. I don't know what's happening to me. I'm in this light and I can't see out of the light. I don't see around me. Now I see okay. There's been a gap somewhere because now I'm walking in this large ship. And there's these about 20 black people sitting down in the ship on this almost like a bench. So she's telling you that there's black people on these chariots. Alright? How are they dressed? Dr. Fiore asked. Diane, these black people are dressed in Western American style. They look very confused and disoriented. Now think about that, Western American style. Who would take in 100 million or more brought to America? So these would have to be Negroes, not Ethiopians, not Egyptians. They are not the same people. These are Negroes. They look very confused and disoriented. Don't most Negroes look very confused and disoriented? And there's this man. Now I see him beside me, but he's tall, and I said to him, why are these black people here? And he said, well, these people were sent down into the most difficult of circumstances, like poor ghetto places. All right, this is Harlem, Oakland, Acres Homes in Houston, Texas, the Crenshaw. So these people were sent to the poor ghetto places for a very high service. There are different souls, and I'm really confused. I don't understand what he's saying, and now we're going into this room. Their souls are spiritual according to the Most High. They keep the law, statutes, and commandments.
I say this all the time, and it's ridiculous how much I have to say this shit, but watch y'all kids at all times, know where they at all times, because shit out here is ridiculous. It's crazy as hell out here. This lady daughters came up missing. The police refused to put an Amber Alert out, so she took it upon herself to find her daughters. She tracked her daughter's cell phone to this house. So the neighbors came along with her to this house. They said shots was fired inside the house. They say police came finally. And it's on camera that these people in this house was trying to sneak out a whole bunch of teenagers, kids and stuff, out the back of the house into this van. They was in handcuffs and everything. They was like literally like loading the van up from the back of the house as the police was coming. This shit was all seen too by the people that came with the mother.
Fine.
For real, fuck these motherfuckers. Yes. He got the whole look.
Oh, they bringing somebody out the bank.
He got the what's happening? What's happening?
Yeah, move with me so my battery won't die.
Yeah, I'm coming with you. Fuck that. Bring his ass out. It took y'all long enough.
Right. Watch, buddy. Watch, buddy. I'm coming through here.
I got you.
They should just let us whoop his ass, dog.
Bro, I swear, if we rush their ass right now, they can't stop nobody.
Oh, they done pulled the van up to the door so they can sneak a shit out.
Hey, that's
they sneaking shit out. They sneaking shit out, dog.
Put that nigga on display.
Show that nigga face, dog. Show that nigga face. My shit got blurry as a motherfucker. Clear up, iPhone. Oh, they sneaking niggas out, dog. They sneaking niggas and bitches out. Look at all the motherfuckers coming out of there, dog.
Hey,
look at all the dog.
Hey,
hell no. Hell no. That van don't need to leave.
They all in that van. It's kids coming out in handcuffs. Hey, make way for the camera. Make way for the camera, man.
They snuck these.
Please, y'all, look out for y'all kids. Keep an eye on them. And if y'all got teenagers, let them know that they need to let y'all know where they at. Not because y'all trying to control them and stuff like that, but it's dangerous out here and stuff like this happens. I'm just so glad these people got caught, man.
You mean to tell me that?
I'm telling y'all, man, look, from my experiences, I'm telling you, like traveling and being overseas and stuff, you'll see a lot of those same people that get missing in these situations here stateside. They send them out there. And their stories is just crazy, man, but they got them working in places. And if they... Bruh, and it's like the whole place is there. I don't want to say exactly where these people was at. Y'all know how it is. Ain't nobody gonna come to my defense, bro. Like, I'll be by myself out here fighting all these goddamn cartels or whatever. But they send them out there, right? And it's just sad, bro. Like, they got these girls, and the taxi cab drivers to take you to the establishments and walk you in. And it's not like they're like, oh, we're just gonna drop you off. No, they're forcing you. They're kind of forcing you in some of these other countries. I'm telling y'all, be safe out here. They kind of force you in there. Like, when have you been to a place where your taxi cab driver is aggressively trying to get you in these establishments? And once they get you in there, you know, they send like groups of girls over to you, and you know, the ones that speak English, they'll let you know, like, yo, I've been this and that, and this is what this is. And then they, you know, you deny them, and then they send more women over and more women. And the taxi cab driver, like, you like. And it's just crazy. Look, that stuff exists out here in the world, but make sure y'all always paying attention where y'all kids is at, man. Like, you ain't trying to dominate their life, but we live in a different day and age now, and we gotta use technology to keep our kids safe. Real talk.
Nature just decided to stack giant stones into a stairway leading into the earth? Come on now, homeboy. You and I both know erosion doesn't cut precise 90-degree angles in perfectly interlocking blocks. Now, who built them? Because the official story is that no advanced civilization ever lived on the Galapagos. But when modern geologists started surveying the region, they found tunnel systems that were artificially reinforced. And get this, the entrances to these tunnels, sealed, blocked off, forbidden. The US military set up a supposed naval station there, but no one ever saw any actual ships or operations. What were they guarding? A rock? A bunch of birds? Fuck no, nigga. They were covering up the excavation of ruins that weren't supposed to exist. The Galapagos ain't just about turtles and iguanas, homeboy. It's about lost civilizations, ancient ruins that defy history, and cover up so deep, you need a damn submarine to get to the truth.
She sold her daughter for her skin and eyes. Trigger warning for this terrifying and shocking story. This is 6-year-old Jocelyn Smith from South Africa. She's been missing since February of 2024, and her mother has been on trial for the coordination of selling her to a natural healer who was interested in her daughter for her skin and her eyes. Kelly Smith is the mother pictured above. This was apparently their home before all this happened. Kelly has 3 children, by the way. And a witness came around to saying that she heard her talking about this idea of selling her child and children for money. You can see the price above that she was interested in selling her children for. Now, her mother has been on trial, and that neighbor did testify and say that the mother confessed to her that she sold her child to a Sangoma, I think is the way you say it, which is that traditional healer. She said that her friend confessed to her, I did something silly, I sold my child to a Sangoma. She even promised that neighbor money in return for her silence. Now, this neighbor said that she had witnessed the mom pack some clothes for Jocelyn into a black bag, and then she saw her and Jocelyn go and meet this Sangoma and drive away in a white car. This Sangoma apparently wanted Jocelyn for her beautiful skin and unique eyes. Now, to this day, Jocelyn has still not been found. Her mother did stand trial and was found guilty. This is terrifying and tragic all at the same time. I don't even have enough words to describe this.
Like, who the hell did she sell them to? Like Jeepers Creepers or something? That's probably where that story came from, though. Peep game. But look, let's get back to it, though.
I am in complete shock and disbelief at what someone just tagged me in. Have you ever seen the commercial for Celine Dion's kids' clothing line? The stuff that's in this commercial is completely unhinged, twisted, and mind-blowing. She has a kids' clothing line called New New. And if you're unfamiliar with what New New stands for, I'll start it and you finish it. New World. Take a look at this. These are toddlers' clothes. Take a look at the symbolism. Everyone knows what that means. This is for babies. Want to start them young, huh? Devil horns for a hat. This is not Photoshop. This is not AI. This is literally her clothing brand. Look it up for yourself. There's Instagram accounts, X accounts for it, even a website. Look at this. And this. And this. And what the heck is this? Here's the actual commercial. Watch.
Commercial?
Our children. They are not really our children, as we are all just links in a never-ending chain that is life. For us, they are everything. But in reality, we are only a fraction of their universe. We miss the past. They dream of tomorrow. we thrust them forward into the future, or the course will always be theirs to choose.
Seriously? I'd love to hear from you on this one. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
This is Monument Valley on the corner of Utah and Arizona, United States. Now, if you notice, these are cut blocks in the ground. And I've been trying to tell y'all that ancient people had technology that they don't tell us about. So how did these blocks happen naturally? I know there's going to be someone that drops in the comments and defends the Matrix programming to try to explain how this is natural. These cuts, look at that cut. Look at these cuts all throughout the land here. You can see it's pre-cut. Y'all are seeing what I'm seeing, right? These cuts, it starts at the edge and then it goes all the way through here, even down up in here. And on the right side where my finger you can't see my finger, but over there too. This looks like somebody took a pizza cutter and just pre-sliced the pizza. So you just grab your piece. That's what that looks like. This is pre-flood. The reason why we know it's pre-flood is because there are fossilized sea creatures all up in this whole area on these rocks, these cubes and stuff. So they were building something back then, and then the flood came, and this is the evidence. This is not natural. This is not natural, okay? Let's continue. We wouldn't even know about this unless this independent guy found this stuff. This is a cube. Look at those dimensions. Right angles. How did they do this? How did they do this? How did they cut the earth like that? Laser technology, people. I'm trying to tell you, ancient people had mad tech. And we're impressed with the iPhone. Okay? They cut the earth like this. And it's like, what were they building? Stuff like the pyramids and stuff, monoliths is what they were building.
Right, we gotta put some respect on that name, because like, if you can't cut the earth like that, you ain't doing shit. We gotta set the bar a lot higher, y'all. This is just pitiful. I know where they got technology like this at, but we're gonna have to make our own, because if it was up to them, we ain't getting that shit. You feel me?
So what is the point of this video? The point of this video is to get you to question the mainstream information and question what you're being told. Because they conveniently forgot to tell us about this in school. They skipped that part. All right? Intelligent human beings, probably with the Nephilim giants, were cutting these blocks out to build monoliths and temples and all kinds of stuff back in the day. But they didn't tell us about this. Why? Why are they hiding that? Question what you're being told. My natural position, if I hear some major story, oh, you know, something happened and it was caused by this, I immediately doubt the cause. I immediately doubt the reason as to why it happened. Okay? And they're going to tell you that the pyramids were built by hand chiseling rocks out of the mountainside, perfect cubes, to build the pyramids and stuff like that. No, they used technology like lasers, and who knows how they hoisted these up. They probably had some anti-gravity stuff. We don't know, because they won't tell us.
Are convicted.
And you already know. I showed y'all that. Look, man. But look. That's crazy. I see why they won't make that public. They won't make that information public on them lasers. Come on now. You see our society? Imagine us with lasers. You talking about slicing people's houses in half? We got a mass murder. All you got to do is get a laser for a couple miles and spin in a circle. You telling me that it's somebody that you... Bro, we all know somebody crazy. And I'm pretty sure they'll crash out like that at some point. You feel me? I don't want to be on the receiving end of that. So keep them lasers, you know what I'm saying, hidden right now till we can figure some things out.
And their beliefs. And so, you know, to Jack's point about using some of the lie detection technology, particularly for eyewitnesses, not only can we put information in without blowing up your brain, we can put it in and then you can believe it so sincerely that the problem is you can testify to that effect. And in fact, we've seen this in a number of ways. The police were doing lineups where the suggestibility of the information was so strong that people would later identify a person that they'd seen. You know, for example, you show a picture lineup and only one person has on a jacket and nobody else does. And then when you go to the live lineup, because your brain triggered that there was something different about that person, you identify the person who you've just seen, but not realizing that it's because of some difference. And then you've seen them twice, and now you're asked to testify as an eyewitness, and you're so convicted about having seen that person commit the crime, even though that person's utterly innocent, that it becomes a planted memory. And so there's some really interesting research that we can plant false memories in the brain. And in a different context, one of the emerging areas that's really interesting in law neuroscience is pain detection. And once we understand the circuitries that cause pain, I guess the question is, could we then instill pain and use that in many coercive measures in the legal system as well? So.
Y'all see why so many of our social leaders and stuff like that be getting, or, you know, something severely happen to them, or people that speak out and let certain people close to them. I can't say a lot, but I'm saying enough, right? Y'all see what happens to them. It's a pattern. You wonder why. The technology has been here. It's been around. Well, let's keep going, though.
At 5:45, we walked on the balcony, and he was talking to people in the courtyard. He stood here and I stood there. Only as I moved away, so we could have a clear shot, the shot rang out. Thank you. Turned around and then stood back on the balcony. Only there. Only as I moved away, so we could have a clear shot, the shot rang out. Thank you. Turned around and then stood. He stood here and I stood there. Only as I moved away, so we could have a clear shot, the shot rang out. Thank you. Turned around and then stood back on the balcony. Only as I moved away, so we could have a clear shot, the shot rang out. Only as I moved away, so we could have a clear shot, the shot rang out. Thank you. Turned around and then stood back on the balcony.
Yeah, okay, I'm probably going to get in a lot of trouble for talking about this. But he said one day he walks through the hall down there in the basement and the door's open. And he looked in there and here's a military man in a military uniform watching about 100 television sets that were on the walls. This is 1968.
Wow.
And the guy says to him, hey, come on in, you want to see this? Well, you don't have somebody who doesn't know anything, who's not connected with the military, come in and watch a military operation. That just doesn't make any sense.
No.
And so my dad looks at these TVs on the wall and he's like, what is this? It's just people walking around doing their business, you know, everyday stuff. And he says, oh, we have cameras in every single television set that's sold. So when we need to keep an eye on someone, we can just dial into that set. 1968. Now we know that's happening now,
right,
with our smart TVs, but back then,
parasites are demons. I'm gonna prove it biblically. These are what parasites look like up close. Isaiah 58, is not this the fast that I have chosen, to loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, and that ye break every yoke. Fasting kills parasites, guys, and parasites make us sick. Really strange coincidence that the symptoms of having parasites go hand in hand with what demonic oppression looks like. In Matthew 17, the disciples were struggling to cast a demon out of a boy, and it says, howbeit this kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting. In Luke 8, when Jesus cast demons out of the man, Jesus asked him, what is thy name? And he said, Legion, because many devils were entered into him. Then the devils went out of the man and entered into a herd of swine. Pigs carry a lot of different kinds of parasites, parasites, I like to run things through Haven to check and make sure that they're biblically accurate. Haven says it's possible, especially when considering Matthew 8:28, where Jesus casts out demons from 2 men as suggesting a connection between spiritual entities and physical afflictions. In Luke, Jesus also gives us the authority to tread on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy. In the Old Testament, Leviticus and Deuteronomy says that pigs are unclean animals and that we shouldn't eat them. In the New Testament, Jesus makes all foods clean for us to eat. Acts 10, how God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Ghost and with power, who went about doing good and healing all that were oppressed of the devil, for God was with him. Healing all who were oppressed of the devil. Think of that. They heal people physically and of demonic spirits at the same time. Matthew 10, it says, when he had called unto him his 12 disciples, he gave them power against unclean spirits to cast them out and to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease. And then think of the times when we're told that God loves the smell of burning fat. Fat is where parasites mostly exist. To me, this is crystal clear, you guys. Let me know what you think.
Baking soda versus parasites. This is an interesting one for me. A lot of people take baking soda for anti-cancer reasons, heartburn. I take it before the gym. As you guys know, I sell all natural baking soda capsules on my website. Lots of people are taking them. But what will they do to parasites? You know, there's a lot of talk about cancer being parasites. So this actually all ties in together. Okay, so we got some parasites on a slide. And this one really surprised me because you never hear about anti-parasitic properties for baking soda. They look alive to me under the microscope. Okay, looks like he's mixing in the baking soda water. Definitely starting to slow down. Really slowing down. And they die. I honestly had no idea that baking soda killed parasites. I knew that it has anti-cancer properties. Is this why it does so well against cancer?
Once you are beyond 7 years old, you should be scrubbing your skin with a brush. No more washcloths for a child, adolescent, and an adult body. You have to scrub it because that moves the lymphatic system. It also stimulates arterial movement. It stimulates drainage of the veins and the fat. So all of that now is basically cleansed when you scrub with a brush. So a lot of people see all these moles on the skin they have called seborrheic keratosis. It comes from not adequately debriding the skin, using a brush or a very rough surface. So all the dead cells pile up, the fat and sweat can't be released, and it looks like a mole. But that comes from really not thorough cleansing. That will also increase high blood pressure because so many of the arterioles, venules in the skin circulatory system have become clogged.
I know some of y'all was just like, so that's why that mug got all them goddamn moles on their face. But it's okay if you got moles on your face. You're starting to get a better understanding from what they are and where they came from. Maybe you can send them back into the darkness. Maybe. I don't know. Let me know how you feel about that in the comments down below. But I know that the brushing helps flush out the lymphatic system, and you can get it kickstarts things again. So that's a good start. You know, I do that personally myself. I ain't got nothing to sell y'all, but health.
Ancestry DNA, it was never about helping you find your family. They told you it was about reconnecting with your past. They told you it was about discovering your roots, your lineage, your history. They told you it was about finding long-lost relatives. They lied. Ancestry DNA was never about helping you find your family. It was about tracking bloodlines. It was about finding lost kings, rulers, and disruptors who once threatened the system. The ones who have returned in new bodies, new lifetimes, new identities. Because history is not linear. It loops. And the rulers of today, they know that their old enemies are being reborn, and they will do anything to stop them from waking up. They can trace every bloodline, every descendant, every possible return of an old ruler, an exiled king, or a lost revolutionary. And if someone is born with the wrong DNA, a genetic signature that once belonged to a threat to their system, they know immediately. And they can stop them before they wake up.
Do you really think the elite care if you're 5% Viking or 10% Italian?
When I came out of my illness, I released hundreds of worms. Some of them look like earthworms from the fucking ground. The photos are wild. There's roundworms, rope worms, tapeworms, all different kinds of parasitic worms. They eat your food, they shit and pee inside of your body. They change your chemicals. They change the way you think. They change the way you feel. They change what you want to eat. Releasing these parasites, it's one of the most awakening experiences you can ever have.
He's actually not wrong. It's estimated over 60 million Americans have these worms in them because they're so contagious. You can attract these paraworms from your cat, your dog, even your kids. Or you bite your nails and these pinworms go through your mouth. You can even attract them from raw pork or sushi, even tap water. These nasty critters attack your body from the inside, causing so many issues. Like if you bloat several hours after eating and that stubborn pooch just doesn't go away no matter what you try, that may be a sign that these worms already got to you. As well as teeth grinding, stomach pain, an itchy butt, diarrhea, and so many more. If you're experiencing any of these issues, you may need to look into doing a deworming cleanse. Only issue is deworming cleanses come in so many shapes and sizes that it gets intimidating to even start one. So many countries actually cleanse a few times a year, but they just use natural herbs that these paraworms just hate. D. Barbara O'Neill actually mentions what herb she cleanses with. Just watch.
The pumpkin seed has some bitter actives in it that parasites and worms hate, but also there are two very bitter herbs. One's called wormwood and one's called black walnut. They're incredibly bitter. They can kill parasites.
See, the only issue is that black walnut and wormwood are insanely bitter, and taking them in capsule form may not
And I guess I've never noticed them before, but do you know that Walmart is scanning our entire bodies? I didn't know whether to feel insecure or safe.
Watching everything.
I think on one side of it, I think we really do have an entire subspecies of creatures that do exist mostly inside the earth, and they are not readily surface dwelling anymore. And I do believe, like in Lake Havasu City, Arizona, man, beside the London Bridge is a massive room, like a throne room, where they engage in this magic. But this Brotherhood of the Serpent, they call upon Nahash, the dragon. And
would that be in normal terms Satan?
Yeah, most people know him as Satan, right? Yeah. But like there is a great red dragon. Like it's a physical, that's what he looks like in reality. He was cursed, and man, he made him a monster. Yahweh made him a monster. And they would commune with these things. There's 13 grandfathers take 13 of their grandsons, and they bring them into these rooms and do these things on these specific times and rituals for all kinds of stuff. But the dragons tell them the future. This is like always what they've been able to do. Is Satan leads Yeshua up onto a great high place and says, I shows him all the nations of the earth and all their kingdoms and their reigns in a moment of time. He shows them the future. That's what they do. They can show you what's to come. This is why we get hunted by them. He knows if we're going to be part of his adversaries. He knows.
Like off of Dragon Ball Z. Don't that sound pretty similar to what they've been showing us in the cartoons? The dragons get the Dragon Balls together, the stars from the sky, and summon a dragon. The great dragon, can give you wishes. Look, so much of a coincidence, but let's get back to it though.
If we're going to be on his enemy list. And that's why he targets us at our youth. That's what so happens. So many people, they're like, why has my life been a nightmare from the beginning? It's because you have a purpose and a destiny that adversary absolutely categorically does not want to come to pass. It's a real life Terminator scenario. And so he sends his assets in to destroy people, to ruin their life. And those meeting places happen when they sit down in these rooms and they try to call up these creatures. It's from inside the earth. It wasn't like ethereal mist. They were physical things that would come out of these tunnels, and they would come into the room and they would consume the offerings that were given there. And then the words of the Nahash would come forth, and they would prophesy to these guys. Like they would prophesy out of the mouth of the serpent what each one of their life callings, their shots. He's the shot caller, man. It's like a pimp from prison. He's calling the shots, and you had a bunch of fallen watchers that were in prison in Tartarus for a reason. Yeah, but they got ways of getting messages out, just like the cronies in jail today, and that's what a lot of people are dealing with. They think they're dealing with the top dog, and they're like, I'm finally into the big game. And it's like you're dealing with, a private in the hierarchy, but he can masquerade like a general. And so some people are really dealing with death himself, and some of them are dealing with one of his princes. And this is what my family's covenant was with the dragon. They didn't mess around, man. They went all the way to the chain of command. They uncovered a bunch of, my great-grandfather's grandfather was an archaeologist who dug into Indian mounds out in the Ohio River Valley, and they started finding a priest class that was these serpent worshipers. And that's what they started calling upon. And they started trying to wake up and rise up Huachiblos, which is these deities, these dragon fire deities.
Imagine this. One of the world's most famous paintings, The Virgin and Child by Leonardo da Vinci, might contain a hidden message. Not just a religious scene, but something much bigger. Some researchers claim that Leonardo embedded the image of an extraterrestrial being within the shadows and shapes of the painting. A creature you can only see if you look very closely, or maybe one that was never meant to be seen at all. Because Leonardo wasn't just an artist, he was a visionary, a thinker, obsessed with the hidden and the mystical. Did he leave behind a secret that's only being uncovered now? And if so, what was he trying to tell us?
This guy, I guess, legitimately is in a position to know a lot more than I know. Okay? And I said to him, you have a level of confirmation that only a handful of people on this planet have. And so he says, James, do you understand the implications of disclosure? And I said, I'm not really giving it too much thought. Why? Yeah, sure, I guess I've thought about it. I mean, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal to me. We're not alone. Great. Robert Bigelow said to me, they're walking among us. I said, what do you mean they're walking among us? I said, they're walking among us. They live right here, kind of thing. So again, I'm looking at him going, I need to see, I'd like to see some proof of that. Right.
But then he said,
we've done studies. We've done extensive studies on the impacts that this story would have on the general population globally. And I said, interesting. Okay. Well, like what kind of studies? He goes, well, you take Iran Contra and you take all these other like super big scandals and you multiply those, every one of them that's ever happened in the history of mankind, in modern history, and then you multiply that by 1 million. And that's the impact, according to our studies, that this reality would have on the general public. I mean, look, it would have an impact. There's no question it would have an impact. And it probably would affect religion, right? Because
why am I going to work? Why the fuck am I paying taxes? Why am
let it out. People should know about it. People should be okay. He goes, you still have to take out the garbage. You still got to pay your mortgage or your rent, And he was not out there trying to get an interview with anybody. We were chased him down for years. And it's actually kind of ruined his life. The level of secrecy. He gets phone calls from the base that ask him like, hey, how you doing? How's your family doing?
But just imagine, just check out the vibe of the video, y'all. You see how it was set up? See? Always be yourself while searching for information. Stay steady in who you are when you're going out here doing your own research. Never believe or just jump on the bandwagon of what somebody else is thinking or how they feel. Always be sure that you're making the best decision for you in this lifetime, while we're here, and just take that step to better yourself each and every day. Because when things arise and complications arise, you are already prepared, you're already willing to deal with whatever comes into your aura, because at the end of the day, you are in control of your energy. And once you know that you have the power and you have control, nothing can get you out of character, make you act outside of what you don't want to be. But for my people here on this channel, I appreciate y'all for being who y'all are. And that's, what I was meaning by this video right here. No matter what nobody say, you're in control of your energy. These past few years, I've been through a lot. I've been tested, man, like so many times. And I think because early on in my life, when I was a child, I might would have been considered like short tempered. But as I grew up and I was starting to understand life, I think I started changing like middle school, to be honest with you. And where I came from was a rough place. We fought all the time, but me learning life and seeing and us moving out of the state and just expanding my brain. Every time I moved to a different state, my mind expanded. I got something new. The culture there is different. How people speak there is different. The weather is different. Everything was different, y'all. But it made my mind grow, and I got obsessed with learning the world early on. And I felt like when I was tapping into that, I felt great. I felt like this is what I should be doing. Exploring, figuring out the world, but don't abandon who I am as a person just because somebody else feels different about what you're doing. So look, I implore everybody on this channel, you know what I'm saying, subscribe to my channel. We'll be at 1 million subscribers at some point, you know what I'm saying, and I hope to make it there with y'all. But look, I appreciate y'all. I see you on the next video. Like I always say, spread love because there's too much hate in this world. Love you guys. I see you in the next video. And I'm out though. Bye.